Gentlemen, I have some good news for you. So, I know that often men tend to look at the situations around them and where we are as a society and how it's so against men. And it feels bleak. It feels like we have no chance. We can't change things, that type of thing. Well, I'm here to tell you things are changing, and they're changing rapidly. Now, how do I know that? Well, let me kind of share a couple things with you. So when you do what I do and speak out about men's issues, you're going to be attacked for doing so. It happens to me every minute of every day. I'm used to it, and the others who advocate for men are used to it also. And I'm talking about the normal stuff, things like, where they call me an incel or point out I'm bald or a host of other things that they like to say to me. And as I've said in the past, I don't care. It rolls off me like water off a duck's back. But what I'm seeing is a trend in the last roughly month to 2 months where they're starting to escalate their responses. They're starting to escalate how they're trying to silence us. And I'm going to share a couple of stories with you that have happened in the last week that illustrate this. So one is my story. On one of my social media accounts, I pointed out to someone that a thing that they had said wasn't true. And as they normally do right off the bat, they replied calling me an incel and a few other things. No big deal, the standard stuff. Now, often I just don't even bother replying to that, but this one I decided to have a little fun and tweak them a little bit with some humor. Well, I should have done some checking before I did that, because this person, they clearly have issues. They are clearly disturbed. Because from that one response of mine, they started escalating things rapidly to the point where they've now put out a call to, and I quote, involuntarily silence me. And no, they're not talking about my accounts. Now, that's a serious thing. And of course, others have now jumped in with them. Now, I'll be honest with you, I'm not afraid of this person. I can take care of myself. And when you actually look at this person's bio, they're a member of Antifa. They claim to be an ex-cop, an ex-fireman, and ex-military. I don't for 1 second believe they were ever any of those. They're just looking for street cred. But as I said, I made the mistake of not checking before replying to them and tweaking them a little. So they've escalated and escalated. Now, I chose to do something that this person would never do, even though they claim to be ex-police and should have had training in de-escalation. I walked away. I blocked them, removed all my responses to them, just wiped the slate clean. But I've been monitoring them from one of my hidden accounts, and they're still at it. And that's all well and good. As I said earlier, I can protect myself, I know how to defend myself, and I carry protection with me at all times, if you know what I mean. But it just goes to show you how desperate they are to silence us that speak out. Add to it, a friend of mine here on the social media channels has been dealing with a horrific situation where someone has chosen to attack her, to demean her, besmirch her, and outright libel and slander her. I'm not going to say who it is, but I'm sure some of you have seen her videos. And again, the goal is to silence her. The funny thing is, they're declaring her as a men's rights activist when she's anything but. I would venture to say she calls it right down the middle better than most people ever could. And she's been on my podcast in the past. And I fully support her defending herself. But she's doing it the right way. She's reported to the authorities, done what I've done, block and all that stuff. And that is the appropriate response. When people threaten violence and when they try and cancel you, they're acting out of desperation. And you responding to it just feeds that desperation. De-escalate, walk away. And I know it seems like you're letting them win, but you're not. You're winning in the end. And again, keep in mind, the more this is occurring, and it seems to be rapidly escalating, is a sure sign that those of us that are speaking out for men are having an effect. People are listening to us. People are genuinely questioning the whole paradigm that's been out there for decades now. What we need to do, those of us men and women who care about men and speak out on their behalf, is to get together, stand together, and organize, something we have failed to do in the last 50 years. And let me be clear, I don't mean to organize to promote violence in any way, shape, or form. I'm about as anti that as you can possibly be. But it doesn't mean we can't support one another. When you see someone that's getting attacked like that, stand up and speak for them. Work together. Support one another. There are things on the horizon that I'm not ready to share yet, but I'm going to say watch my podcast in a couple of weeks and you'll see what's coming. And it is fantastic. Remember, United we stand, divided we fall. They're doing everything they can to silence and divide us. Our response should be to stand shoulder to shoulder. Say, no, we're not going to tolerate that. We demand to be respected. It really is that simple.